Can you describe the living and eating spaces on the submarine?
Well, the living spaces were always pretty cramped. I think even up to the missile submarine, it was even on the Skate, Sea Dragon, Scamp, they were a little cramped. But the diesel boats, they when we first started, the first boat I was on, we had spring mattresses, spring bunks, and regular old type mattresses, and we used to air bedding on whenever we could when it was in port, and the ventilation and air conditioning was not near as good as later, and as it is now, and water was a big consideration. On the old diesel boats, you didn't waste any water. You didn't take too many showers. We used to take a shower in the lower level of the engine room with salt water, and but that was always left you feeling kind of sticky. But I was also on it depended a lot on your equipment, and if the equipment was new and well tested, and proper operation, it run correctly, your distilling plants and air conditioning and ventilation systems was very vital to any submarine, and whether it was newer or fleet boat. But I remember when our distilling plants were a new type on the trigger, and they would not work. And we went quite a few days without any fresh water. We put all the drains from the cooling coils down into going into the freshwater tank, and it, took the moisture out of the air. But the only thing it was kind of stinky water too. You couldn't even make coffee with it. It smelled so bad. But we had a lot of juice and a lot of fruit aboard, so we were much better off than some of the old R boats or the guys out on shore, but on patrol and on the old boats in World War II. I've always felt our living conditions were much better than theirs, and that's about it.
Can you describe some of the most humorous experiences that you had aboard?
Humorous? They were almost all humorous except when something bad was happening. And that's about all I could say about that.
You don't have anything to stick
No.
out? Okay. What's your most memorable experience?
Well, that's a tough one.
You can share a couple.
Most memorable. Well, I guess I have to say that the two trips on two different submarines to the North Pole was very, very memorable. Also I don't know, I guess the on a missile submarine, that was memorable to a good extent. And other than that, there was just a lot of memories. A lot of them I can't remember now. And that's about it.
What role did your submarine play in the defense of our country?
Well, we used to do a lot of things and be on the line, watching for other nations submarines, ships, movements, also the deterrent patrols, and that's about all I'd like to say on that.
And were you involved directly in any battles or any deterrence?
Not any battle, no. No.
Can you describe the silent service?
Well, it's getting too unsilent anymore. And I don't know. I think there's a lot of things that are said today that shouldn't be out. But this is the modern world, and Navy and things are much different now than before. Silent service, that's what it meant, was a silent service. You never told anybody where you was going, when you was coming back, or what you did. And that still remains true with many of us.
Is there a particular patrol that sticks out in your mind?
Yes, but I'd rather not talk about it.
What would you say was the most difficult aspect of submarine life?
Most difficult? Well, I enjoyed it. I really had a very, very good life in the submarine service, and as far as one time, or depends on where you were. Every area you go to, there's always something good about it, right? And that's what you look for, is the good things. You don't go look for the bad things. But that's it.
And what would you say you liked best about being part of the submarine service?
Personal pride and the friends that I've made in the submarine service.
If you wanted to share something about your military service with your family and friends, what would that be? If there's any beliefs or anything that you'd like to pass on to future generations?
About the submarine service?
Submarine service, or anything that you felt were values that you took away from being part of submarine service?
Oh, I don't know. My submarine service didn't end when I retired from the Navy. I worked 25 years at General Dynamics. I worked up in New York on the prototype. I worked in Quincy, Massachusetts, building parts for submarines, and the first dry deck shelter for the SEALs, and I worked in Kings Bay, Florida, for the Trident training facility down there, and I really had a full 25 years after I retired from the Navy in very close to the submarine service, and I really enjoyed every bit of it. I even worked on a destroyer reactor refueling and things like that, so I just really enjoyed it.
Is there anything else that you would like to share, any memories or anything that you would like to say about your fellow crewmates? Or
Well, I did take my family then, from one son, one daughter, and my wife, who had passed away since, on a cruise to out of New London, and we went out for a day, and that was nice having them see what we did, a little bit of it, how to dive and surface, and that was about all.
That must
And
be awesome.
enjoyed that. And
What submarine did you take them on?
on the Henry L. Stimson, yeah, the FBM, yeah. That was a great boat. That was a good boat too, and wonderful crew. Every crew I was with was great. Always had a lot of friends, and I always worked hard, and I was always pretty well respected, I think. Even in my jobs after the service, and even now, I can grow the best tomatoes around.
Well, that's great. Is there anything else that you'd like to add to the interview today?
No, I can't think of anything. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
All right.
for sharing your stories with us, and it was great to have you here to interview with us.
Thank you.
And I'm sure that your children and grandchildren will love to see this DVD.
Okay.